The clock is ticking in the Middle East. Hamas has 72 hours to release the Israeli hostages. Authorities believe 20 are living, 27 are dead. This is according to Trump's plan. Israeli forces are withdrawing from parts of the Gaza Strip right now as thousands of displaced Palestinians are attempting to move back into what were their neighborhoods. 33 bodies were discovered in the rubble of Gaza City earlier today, according to a hospital director. Though the ceasefire does appear, as of this hour, to be holding, there remain huge questions for the near and distant future about the fraught Israel-Palestine relationship. For the first time, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today implied that not all of the killed hostages that remain in Gaza might be returned, while the Israeli military spokesperson says they're, quote, well prepared to go back into combat, unquote, with Hamas if the terrorist group retains control of Gaza. President Trump is expected to arrive in Israel on Monday as the first few points of his 20-point ceasefire and peace plan become reality. Joining us now to discuss is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for joining us. After Hamas releases the hostages and Israel releases the Palestinian prisoners, after that comes point 6 of President Trump's 20-point plan. Point 6 reads, quote, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries, unquote. That is obviously easier written than done. What will Israel do if Hamas does not lay down their arms or leave?
Well, Jack, everyone in Israel is holding their breath for the release of the hostages in the next 72 hours, and we hope it will start even tomorrow. But I agree with you, that will be the easy part, because it is very clear what we are receiving, what we are giving in exchange. The complex part will be the implementation of the second phase, the demilitarization of Gaza. And, you know, we know that we are dealing with Hamas. That is why the withdrawal of the forces of the IDF is gradual. What we did last night, we pulled back, but not completely out of the Gaza Strip. So we will still be there, and we will follow what's happening there. I hope that they will comply with the agreement, that they will actually lay down their arms and allow international forces to take over and to start the reconstruction of Gaza, the radicalization of Gaza. But we will still be around, watching very carefully what's happening.
Point 9 of President Trump's 20-point plan establishes President Trump as the head of a, quote, board of peace. That board will oversee a temporary transitional government in Gaza. Has any part of that process started yet? And if not, who's in charge in Gaza right now?
No, as of now, it's still a chaos. You know, it's a war zone. It's chaotic. I think now they are in the process of collecting the hostages and preparing the release of the hostages, and also receiving the terrorists. You know, one part of the agreement, which is a very painful one, that we will release thousands of terrorists in the next coming days. So now they are working on the arrangements to receive those terrorists back into Gaza. I think, you know, we will have to rely on the international community. And that is why President Trump, you know, is also speaking with other leaders to think about the day after. Who will actually send forces, who will contribute knowledge management forces in order to govern in Gaza. They don't have any ability today to govern them by themselves.
Yes or no, do you think this huge achievement would have happened without President Trump?
I don't think so. I think it was a combination of the determination of our leadership and the IDF forces and the pressure of President Trump. The combination of diplomacy and military pressure, it brought us to where we are today. You know, a very long process, 2 years. People are suffering in captivity, many casualties on both sides, and we are thankful for that.
So you agree that Prime Minister Netanyahu could not have done this without Trump's help?
I think it came together, you know, the timing of the pressure, the decision of the government to actually capture the city of Gaza. And we meant it. You know, we brought the forces. We were about to enter Gaza City. And I think it was a real threat. And the pressure the President Trump put in with his team, I think it brought us to the position. It wouldn't have happened by itself.
Ambassador Danny Danon, thank you so much for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, welcome back. Phase 1 of the deal between Israel and Hamas is now in effect. So far, the ceasefire appears to be holding. Today, thousands of Palestinians began the trek from South Gaza back to what is left of their homes in the north as the IDF makes their way out and to the new deployment lines. An official tells us that U.S. troops have started arriving in Israel to monitor the plan's implementation. CNN Chief International Correspondent Clarissa Ward is here now in the arena with the latest. So, Clarissa, the 72-hour window for Hamas to release these remaining hostages, I mean, we are moving through that. What are we expecting in the next 60 hours here?
So that's right, Casey. We're almost 12 hours into this ceasefire. It does appear to be holding. As you said, the IDF has pulled back to what they're calling the yellow line. That's the first retreat or withdrawal line per this plan. And we expect to see, we don't have an exact timeline, but sometime in the next 60 hours, we expect to see those hostages released. Now, important for our viewers to remember, 20 of those 48 hostages are believed to still be alive. At least 2 of those are believed to be in poor health. We are also expecting to see 28 deceased hostages being released, though we did hear earlier, Casey, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was essentially kind of paving the ground for the possibility that it might take more than this 72-hour window to effectively locate the remains of all of those 28 deceased hostages. But nonetheless, this is poised to look a little different to previous hostage releases that we've seen. According to the plan, the hostages should be released in one tranche or in one go. Previously, we had seen them released in smaller groupings. And then, of course, you are also expecting to see some 1,700 Palestinian detainees who have been held since October 7th, and the release of 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences. About 150 of those are expected to be deported to third countries. Others will be returned to the West Bank and East Jerusalem. So a lot of moving parts in these next 60 hours. And from there, we then expect to see the next phase of implementation. And most crucially, Casey, you talked about those honestly biblical images of Palestinians battered and beleaguered, trudging on foot back to what remains of their homes in northern Gaza. We now expect to see this hotly anticipated, I should say, and vital surge of aid, 170,000 metric tons, according to the UN, now waiting on the borders, ready to go in and help the people of Gaza as they are still in the throes of this horrific humanitarian crisis. Casey?
All right, Clarissa Ward for us in Israel. Clarissa, thanks very much for that reporting.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.